The impression the game you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the final treaty talk of 2023. Tom Clancy and Matt O'Callaghan here to see you over the line, as it were, in 2023. Matt, the year will be remembered predominantly for one thing, that's Limerick securing 4 in a row. I suppose we still pinch ourselves around Shannon's side that we are having such success, but you know, we're definitely not getting sick of it anyway, I think it's fair to say.
No. It's something that you'd never get sick of.
Yeah.
Because I was at the 1973 final, and I can't sort of get my head around that it's 50 years ago, but for 45 years of that 50, we have suffered. And by God, Tom, was it suffering. You can be sure it was absolute agony. You know, so close. I remember 1980, 94, 96, 2007, you know. But really, in our wildest dreams, we couldn't have imagined that we would see the great odyssey that we have at the moment. 5 All-Irelands in 6 years. But, I spoke last week about the book written by James Dundon, Liam O'Brien and Niall Deegan, and 73, they keeping the dream alive. And in many ways, the lead into 73, there are parallels with the lead into this run of success, because you had in the 60s, you had Limerick contesting a couple of minor finals, losing the minor final 63, I suppose, in the highest ever scoring minor final, losing to Wexford, and then losing the minor final in 65, and then you had a whole raft of success for Limerick CBS, including an All-Ireland in 1966. So, like, the building blocks were coming into place. Now, if you move fast forward by 50 years, or the most of 50 years, and you see the building blocks coming into place again, back to my minor championships in 2013, 2014 in Munster, which we'd never done before. Contested a couple of minor finals. You had the emergence of Ardscoil Reach, and you also had the emergence of the Fitzgibbon Cup becoming a much more important competition in the GAA calendar. And they probably all fed into the success that is now has manifested as 5 All-Ireland senior titles in a row. So no doubt the highlight of the year, that can be only one highlight. You know, no matter how you go about it, and being as objective as you possibly can. When the final whistle went in this year's All-Ireland final, to have completed 4 in a row, like, it was just simply a phenomenal moment. And it was a moment that when you reflect and look back in it and see what is achieved, to win 4 All-Irelands in a row is fantastic. And, like, we're only the 3rd county to do it. Cork done it in the early 40s. And they probably did it at a time of the war, and did it at a time when there was less games to be played. in the Munster Championship at the time was a straight knockout. Then you had the Kilkenny 4 in a row, where it predated the round robin in the provincial series. But you would have to say that Limerick competed the 4 in a row in the most challenging of circumstances to come through the round robin in Munster. And any people narrative going around that the round robin suited Limerick more than anybody else is a fallacy, because we had Limerick. Was it 2 years during the COVID? We had a straight knockout.
Yeah.
And Limerick still won it. So, look, it is simply a phenomenal achievement. And I suppose what makes the achievement all the more sweeter, Tom, is the fact that we beat Kilkenny in consecutive years, and beaten by 9 points in the final. And in 2023, Limerick beat Kilkenny convincingly and comprehensively in both of the major finals, the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Final and the National Hurling League Final.
Yeah.
So no doubt at all, Tom, what the moment of the year has to be clinching 4 in a row.
Yeah, and just to pick up your points there, and you mentioned Limerick going the back door, or not the back door, the old-fashioned way, I should say, in 2020 and in 2021 when the championship was more condensed. The thing I like about this Limerick 4 in a row is that they have done it in winter, they've done it in summer, they've done it in the spring, effectively. Any which way you want, they've done it. They've beaten everyone. There's been no case where someone has taken out, a Clare or a Kilkenny or whoever the leading lights. They've beaten them. They've knocked them out. They've knocked Galway out 3 times in semi-finals. They've beaten Kilkenny twice in finals. They've beaten the Cork in a final. Waterford. They've beaten Waterford in Munster finals. It's not like someone did the heavy lifting for them. And I did that. And I think the most admirable part about this Limerick team has been their consistency despite losing players. They've lost Cian Lynch for periods. They've lost Sean Finn. They've lost Peter Casey. They've lost Richie English as a backup. I'm running out of. There's another 4 or 5 names. Declan Hannon.
The biggest name of all, of course, is Declan Hannon.
Yeah. And there's more besides. Now every team gets injuries. It's not like Kilkenny had no injuries this year or Clare didn't have injuries, but Limerick have shown that the injuries are maybe not irrelevant is the wrong word, but they can get over them. They can get on with it. It literally is next man up. John Kiley says it. Other counties say it, but can they back it up? They say, "Oh well, we'll replace him with the next man." Limerick can, and Limerick will probably do it again. There'll probably be someone who will get injured in the springtime next year, and they'll still be as strong without them. It's just that's what I like about them. And this year in particular, Matt, the kitchen sink I think was thrown at Limerick in every game. With Davy Fitz and Waterford jumping up and down in Thurles from first minute to last. Limerick down a man for a lot of the game, win the game. Clare coming winning the Gaelic rounds, no panic, we'll get it back. Limerick up to Thurles, secure a draw, come back, beat Cork in a rip-roaring game in the Gaelic rounds, get over the line by a point, get to a Munster final. Clare think they have it. They think they have us, and again, Limerick find the answers. And even in the first half against Galway, Limerick have had to reassemble their team. Limerick under a bit of pressure, steamroll Galway. Game over well before the finish. 10 minutes to go. Galway people are heading for the cars. And the same in the All-Ireland final. Kilkenny looking strong. Yes, Limerick. With 5 or 6 minutes to go, everyone knows that Limerick have won. It's just that was the run of games in a very brief synopsis, but I think they've managed to do it everywhere. That's what I like most about them. It hasn't been one player that has carried them for 4 years. There's been no player has been remarkably outstanding for 4 years. There has been dips for players, but other players then have come up. I think that's what I love about this team. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree totally. Hail, rain or snow, knockout or round robin, They've done it in all circumstances. So, absolutely, I have Donlow Cusick and describing him as a generational set of players, and by God, aren't they? That they are absolutely fantastic. But you must remember, we cannot discount for 1 minute the influence of John Kiley and Paul Canarkin on the whole proceeding. The way not only has John assembled a team, to go on the pitch, but he has assembled a team behind him. And just as the players on the pitch all know their duty, as John Kiley describes, they all know the process. It's the same behind the scenes. So it's a very, very well-oiled machine, that doesn't appear to be letting up anytime soon. And what is there, and if you hear the players talking, they're still not satisfied, because they grew up on a diet of Limerick not having won in All-Ireland for 45 years, and hard luck stories. And by God, do they want to remedy it?
Yeah. And I think we grew up, Matt, I grew up on a diet of Limerick barely able to win a game, between, was it 98 and 2007 or something like that, or maybe slightly after the year, 2001 and 2007, Limerick didn't win a game in Munster. And now we're after winning 5 in a row championships. I mean, come on, someone wake me up here, crazy stuff. Matt, if we look down through the other Limerick hurling teams, the under-20s, probably flattered to deceive. It was disappointing. They went. Drew with Clare, I think, the first day out, and then I think when they went to Thurles, they'd beaten Waterford. The first day out, they drew with Clare.
Beat Waterford.
Beat Waterford. Drew with Clare. Things were looking okay, but suddenly then the wheels kind of came off above in Thurles. I think they only scored was the 2 or 3 points in the first half. There's great talent in that team. Very frustrating even in Thurles. I think I was sitting beside you for it. And then against Cork, then a very strong Cork team got the better of them. Only late now, it must be said, in the Gaelic grounds. And look,
that was the real one of my real downers in the year, but of course, the All-Ireland win camouflages everything. But that was hugely disappointing that evening in Thurles. I just had to pinch myself during the first half at what was unfolding in front of us when Tipperary were running right, and where we just didn't turn up. But we saw Limerick in the second half, and they pulled it back, one goal and 15 points to 16 points, and we're unlucky that they didn't get something out of it. But whatever happened in that first half was just simply incredible, and it probably defined their season. In that they didn't make the cut, and had they got even a draw there, they probably would have made the semi-final, and you just don't know where it would have gone from there. But overall, it was disappointing just to get one win, and it started off so well when you travel to Waterford and you win away from home, and then you drew with Clare. But the circumstances in which they drew with Clare, like going down into injury time, they were a goal up, and they didn't concede a goal. They conceded 3 points.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Yeah, somehow didn't win.
So
conceding a goal.
There was something I don't know. It was a disappointing year for the lads in that regard. But all we have to hope for is in 2024 that that we will see better. I suppose, to be unfair, just to go away from that under-20 hurling Munster Championship without mentioning the contribution of Patrick O'Donovan, who was simply phenomenal throughout all the games. Gave an exhibition and scoring in all the games. So, but I don't like singling out players, but in the circumstances. But disappointing, very, very disappointing.
Yeah, and hopefully 2024 with I suppose new players, with new management involved, we might see a little pep in the step for Limerick at under-20, and again the round robin could suit that team to build up to hopefully indeed a tilt at a Munster title. Just looking down the ages, Matt, the under-17s, were beaten by Clare in Ennis. That was they were knocked out. Clare obviously went on to win the provincial and All Ireland title beyond that. Mixed campaign. Look, it's under 17s. We can't get away from that fact. These guys are going to have good days and bad days. There was some, I think their away performances in the group, away to Waterford in absolutely crazy conditions. You wouldn't put your dog on it, as they say. To get a win down there was a great tonic at the start, and then beyond that, then was another win against Tipperary and Thurles in a humdinger of a game. There was some good green shoots here, and a lot of these guys are still eligible again for 2024. So it's not entirely about winning. We love to see these teams winning, but developing players and getting them out in the green shirt, that's probably paramount here as well.
Yeah, no, they beat Waterford in what was monsoon, as you're right. But it was Clare they beat in the second round.
Clare, yeah.
Who subsequently went on to win the All Ireland.
Yeah.
And
that would probably rankle with them a bit, yeah.
They lost to Tipperary and they lost to Cork. But it was enough to qualify for the semi-final. And they had to play Clare and Ennis. And I suppose Clare showed that evening, the potential to be Munster and All Ireland champions, which they proved to be, because they beat Cork in the Munster final. And they seemed to beat the team of all the talents. Galway were a hugely talented team. But the way they came through Leinster, and Clare beat them in the All Ireland final. So look, there's certainly good prospects in the minor team, and there are a number of those players available the coming year. We've picked up an All Ireland under 16 in the meantime, so therefore the prospects there would be looking good.
Yeah, definitely. I'll correct you there, Mass, because they actually won 3 games in the group and had to go into a semi-final. I'm just looking at it here, 3. Cork, Clare and Limerick all won 3 games, so Limerick had to go into the semi-final.
Sorry, that's right. You're sorry. Yeah. My apologies, Sam.
They got a last gasp win against Tipperary, but that'll show you the margins, right? So they were only what were they? They were 13 points on the scoring difference behind Cork, and they were only 4 behind Clare after everyone had played their 4 group games. A finely balanced group, but yes, Clare are heroes, and it all looks good now. They obviously went and did the business beyond that, but even that game in Ennis, I can't remember, Matt, again, we're probably beside each other for that. As far as I remember, Clare scored something like 2-2 either side of the half-time. They scored maybe 1-1 in stoppage time in the first half and 1-1 or 1-2 in the first 2 minutes of the second half.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was something like 2-3 without reply, I think, 2-2, 2-3 without reply. The margin was only 3 or 4 in the finish. Now, it's obviously never as linear and as straightforward as that, but that was the winning and the losing again for Limerick. They left themselves with too much to do in the second half, but they had the fight back there. I think they were just trying to find the score here. They got that back to 6 points. Yeah, I think they were maybe 10 or 11 down at one stage. They got it back to 6. 221 to 215 they were beaten by, and obviously Clare went on to beat Cork and then Galway to win the title. So look, fine margins really in a lot of ways, but we shall see how they fare out in 2024. It's always an intriguing grade. It's the first time you see somebody's names in the Limerick jersey, and it definitely won't be the last. We'll see some of them, and I suppose it's just a case then of watching them over a course of 3 and 4 years to see how they develop physically, how their skills develop, and I suppose can they progress in the Limerick jersey. So we'll see how Shane Dowling, who's the new manager,
and mention Shane Dowling. Congratulations to him on becoming a father of himself and Paula, father of baby Tom.
Yes, yeah, good name if I do say so myself. So Tommy Dowling, I think, was the way they're going with that one. So Shane will be a busy man next year. There's no doubt about it. With a youngster, a young baby now, and obviously Limerick minor manager in 2024. Matt, we'll flip to the club scene now. Napier winning what we probably described a few weeks ago as not a classic county final, but they did what they had to do. But it's this championship for me. Maybe you remember the winners, but in fairness, the rise of Munger is impressive. We lost Gary Spillane out of the senior rank, but Drummond are back, so a lot to digest there. I think maybe looking at the champions anyway, the Pierce were probably deserving winners of this championship.
Yeah, I when I look at the championships of 2023, we had 4 finals on the one weekend, if you recall, Tom. We had the Junior A final, which ended in Mungret winning on penalty shootout. You had Drummond Glacka and Blackrock in the Premier Intermediate final, won by David Breen at the very last puck of the game. We had Granaballingary and Croke Kilfinney contesting an absolutely fantastic intermediate final. Croke Kilfinney very unlucky at the very death. Full back went up, had a powerful drive, and it just skimmed over Dennis O'Connor's crossbar, which leaves one final. I think the least exciting and possibly the least exciting final of the 4 was the senior final.
Yeah.
Which should have been our showcase final. But I think it was the culmination of a year, I would have to say, Tom, where the senior championship never really caught fire. It never really ignited. It threatened to do so. It threatened to do so, and the real night that it threatened to do so was over in Cappamore, when Kilmallock and Patrick Swell met in round 3 or round 4. And you're saying to yourself, championship is on, it's up and running now, but it fell flat again. Now we had the excitement in the county semi-finals. Like, given the circumstances, you had Doon who had a phenomenal year, and you'll probably say, what did they win? They won the league. And, what did they do in the championship? And I'm not defining Doon's year by the performance that they put up in the semi-final, where they took the Piercik to extra time and a penalty shootout. I'm defining Doon by the year in which they regrouped. They had lost their entire backline from last year. The entire 6 were out, mainly through injury. Dean Coleman, who captained them to win the league, was gone abroad. But they still survived. They suffered a very, very heavy defeat in the first round to Kilmallock.
Yeah, 19 points.
You say to yourself, what does the future hold for Doon? We didn't have long to wait. They beat Patrick Swell in the second round, and a Patrick Swell side that had beaten the Piercik in the first round. The third round they lost heavily to the Piercik and bounced back again in round 4. So, and then got to the semi-final. So to me, it's hats off to them, for what they did in the circumstances in which they did. Like, there can be no argument. Like, you had Richie Ryan out with cruciate, or Richie English with cruciate, Mike O'Brien with cruciate. Like, you Josh Ryan out, Gareth Thompson, Patrick Cummins, absolutely huge players. And the 6 players that lined out in the semi-final the previous year were not available this year. So it was a complete new rebuilding. And I suppose they provided a very exciting semi-final. Now, the other semi-final, Kilmallock went into it as favourites. They got blown out of the water by Patrick Swell in that semi-final. And you said to yourself, God, we're going to have a cracking final here now. But really, it didn't happen for Patrick Swell in the final. The Piercik, there can be no arguments. I think the Piercik really played within themselves and won the county final. And, you move on then and you look at the Munster Championship and the defeat by Ballygunner for the second year in a row. Like, it was a very, very disappointing performance by the Piercik in the Munster Championship. 3 scorers over the hour. When have we seen that from the Piercik? A goal and 2 points over the hour from play from the Piercik. When have we seen that? And they nearly snatched it at the death. when Adrian Breen got a goal and Dahi Dempsey had a shot that went through a forest, but Stephen O'Keefe, being the great goalkeeper he is, spotted and saved it. Had that gone in, there was only going to be one winner. The Piercy could have salvaged it after a disappointing performance. So overall, what I would say is that I thought the Senior Championship, Tom, was a disappointment. You know, apart from that Kilmallock Patrick's Well game, you know, I cannot think of any you know, real big moment that you would look back on. Now, the other championships, the Premier Intermediate Championship never fails to give, Tom. Never fails to give. And it did it again this year.
Yeah.
What a final. You know, and what semi-finals. Like you had Bruff and Effin going into the semi-finals as favourites. Like it was an all South Limerick affair in the last four. But you know, and the odds were up scuttled when first of all Blackrock beat Effin in Bruff, and then when we moved on to Kilmallock, we had Drummond and Clack had beaten Bruff for the second time this year. You know, and then Drummond and Clack going on and winning the final. Intermediate Championship with an excellent final. Between, as I said already, between Granabellangary and Croke Kilfinney, and the junior final eventually decided on penalties.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, that's the hurling scene across the four codes. We mustn't forget Monaleen as well, Junior B winners in the hurling match. Yeah, we flipped to football and looking at the intercounty.
We wish, before you go from Monaleen, we wish Monaleen the very best of luck in the first of all the Munster Clubs Championship in Killeedy early in the new year, and let's hope they'll progress on to the All Ireland series like Bruff did last year. Yeah,
and who knows, they may go all the way, but that'll certainly shorten the winter for them, and obviously the guys involved in 21s as well, as has kept the hurling year round as well, which is, I'm sure, augurs well for them into the future. Matt, flipping to football, looking at the intercounty scene, Ray Dempsey came in, won their first game under his charge against Waterford, but it was very much downhill from there. Limerick really struggled to get anything going under Ray Dempsey. I was up Derry in the first game. I think they only scored 4 points. Division 2 proved way too difficult. Ray Dempsey left after they got their first positive result, to draw with Meath, instead Mark Fitzgerald, but they couldn't beat the drop. Down they went. And if you just look at the league now, before we'll mention the championship in a second, but it was a tough, you know, winter and spring for Limerick football, it's fair to say.
It was, and we always knew that, you know, it was going to be tough, because you had made the transition very quickly from Division 4 to Division 2. I would argue, you know, that you probably made it too soon. You might have done with the next year in Division 3, but it is what it is, you know. And I suppose there was early signs that things mightn't be what you would be hoping they would be. As you said, we got that win against Waterford in the McGrath Cup, but then we got a very heavy trimming from Cork in the McGrath Cup final. And I also think, and I'm not offering this as an excuse, but it's the randomness of the scheduling and what have you. You know, if you were looking for a baptism of fire, a trip to Derry in the first round and Dublin at home in the second round was surely it.
Yeah,
you know,
as
a team coming up so quickly from Division 4, you needed to ease into the group. You know, hopefully that you might meet a county that you could get a couple of points maybe on the board in your first two games. If you picked up just 2 points at least, you know, to put you in on the road to consolidation. But like, you lose to Derry in the circumstances in which we lost, and then you lose to Dublin, and you know, it was an uphill battle after that. 2 games, 4 points down. And then, as you said, we got the point against Meath at the Gaelic grounds, and then we had the departure of Ray Dempsey. Changing in midstream, Tom, you know, unless it is absolutely necessary, isn't good for anything. Mark Fitzgerald came in. He did the best he could, and we got a good run in the Charlton Cup with wins over Longford and Carlow. And that was until we lost Wicklow in a dead rubber game, which sounded the alarm bells again. Then we had the draw where we had Laois at home, and created an infinite number of chances, but couldn't score. Laois went on and were beaten by Down in the quarter-final.
They were more than beaten, yeah.
Or was it the semi-final? And they were hit for 6 goals.
Semi-final,
Limerick could easily have hit him for 6 goals.
Yeah. Limerick missed chance after chance after chance.
After chance after chance. So, it all adds up to a very, very disappointing season. Disappointment, in the championship, disappointment in the league championship, and in the Tarleton Cup, because after 2 rounds of the Tarleton Cup, after wins over Longford and Carlow, a very convincing win over Carlow, who had gone to Ockram and beaten Wicklow, which is a very, very difficult thing to do.
And Limerick had the Group 1 match after those 2 games, so it was
it was a dead rubber game against Wicklow.
Yeah. But build yourself up properly for the Laois game then is what you're looking
at. Absolutely.
But
it didn't happen, and I think it's it should be marked as red.
Yeah, very disappointing end to the year, but I think Limerick now have a taste of the Tarleton Cup, and maybe hopefully they'll have learned what it will take next year to come out of a group stage of a competition and then into knockouts, and hopefully they'll have their day in Croke Park in the championship football, which has been proved to be few and far between down the years. Matt, looking down the grades, the under-20s, but they're going to get a new format for the year ahead. They were only guaranteed 1 game the season just gone, and that was something that they ended up getting 2. They beat Waterford, but in fairness to Efi Fitzgerald, who was the Waterford senior and 20s manager, he bemoaned the lack of games for 20s. And look, I know we're looking back on the year, but it's good that in 2024 the format will suit Limerick better. They'll get more games. They were heavily beaten by Cork. I don't think Cork even put the foot fully on the gas. Limerick were no match for them. But I suppose the positive obviously was that win, which had come, I think, was it Easter? The Easter Monday weekend, out in Ballyagrane against Waterford. That was the game that Limerick targeted, I'm sure, a long way out. They won that, and their season ended in against Cork. But 20s, they're trying to build a panel over a few years. It's not a case of get 30 guys in and have them for a year. They're trying to build this one over to a 2 or 3 year cycle.
Yeah, I would say that, because we went to Cork. You and I were together, I think, that night, Tom, and it was a very youthful Limerick side, and it as Shane Kelly stressed to us after, you will recall that there was one eye in the future in it, and the future now is this year, you would hope, because the nucleus of the team this year should be formed from, the team that went so close to a minor success 3 years ago. Now, what happened 3 years ago, more often than not, has little reflection on what happens 3 years later, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, absolutely.
But, you mentioned there about the new format. I think the new format will probably suit Limerick. And why this new format hasn't been in before, I don't know. It was an anomalous situation. I cannot understand when they put the minor hurling and the under-20 minor hurling, minor football, and minor hurling and minor football and under-20 hurling into a round-robin system. Why they left out and persisted with the knockout for the under-21s. I just didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, and senior in
now
the
that anomalous situation has been rectified,
Yeah.
And I think it will probably suit Limerick. It is not exactly a round robin akin to what we have in the senior hurling championship, or indeed the minor and under 20 hurling championship. It's an exact replica, I think, of
It
the
is, yeah.
minor football championship. You know, and certainly the minor football championship last year brought good tidings for Limerick. That was until they met Kerry in the semi-final, because we lost to Tipperary in the first round of the Munster Championship, but then went to Clare and won, beat Waterford, and that set up a Limerick-Tipperary final for phase 1 for the Darrell Darcy Cup, which Limerick won. They avenged the first round defeat by Clare, or by Tipperary, and won the Darrell Darcy Cup. It pitted them in a semi-final against Kerry in Newcastle West. You know, and again it graphically showed the disparity between the 4 and the top 2. Now, I know the duopoly has been broken at minor level, mainly by Tipperary, or been challenged by Tipperary, and at under 21 level. But certainly, despite having the 4 games in what we'll call phase 1 Darrell Cup, you know, we were exposed when it came to the semi-final against Kerry. You know, so look, at least the minor footballers, and fair credit to John Ryan and his management team, they picked up silverware. I think this is the first Munster silverware that Limerick picked up since they won the Munster Minor Championship in 1956, Tom.
Yeah, it's neither today nor yesterday. Yeah, that will tell you. Silverware.
You were every there that day, I'd say, Tom, were you?
I just missed out. I was covering another game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just the point and the format change for the year ahead, and if you're the manager of the 20s in any of these counties, particularly I would say Limerick, Waterford, and probably Clare, Tipperary, depending on the year, it's a very hard sell to lads to say we're going to play Waterford, and if we win, we'll be going down to Cork. And sure, if we win that, well, there's no going to be if you win that, you're not going to win that. So you're guaranteeing a fella only one competitive game. You know, I know there's these other competitions that maybe don't make the headlines as much, but one game in the Munster Championship. Whereas now you can say to a fella, right, well, I'm bringing you into a panel of 30 or 35, and, you know, we're going to play Tipperary, we're going to play Waterford, we're going to play Clare. There'll be ample opportunity to bring you in there, or, you know, whatever the sell may be, the sell is now easier to these players. And after that, then, yes, you might get to play. If we were successful, you might play, you know, down in Killarney or down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, or you'll get to play Kerry at home. It should be much more appealing to an 18 or 19-year-old who may be on the fence about playing another sport or another code or college or life or work. He said, you know what, that is now worth committing to, because I get this high level of coaching for 6-7 months or whatever amount of months it is, get my strength conditioning, and I'll also get a volume of games. That's what players want. They want games. They don't really want, you know, trips around Rathkeale in McNeville Park for 5 nights a week. They want to play competitive games that they can win. And this is what the games will be, you presume, next year against Waterford, Tipperary and Clare. Limerick will be definitely competitive in all 3 of those games, if not capable of winning them, you know. So I think that's the positive out of that for sure. And hopefully it works well for all those counties. And obviously we'll leave our Limerick glasses on here, and hopefully it'll work well for Limerick. Matt, you mentioned the minor success. Look at it, we won't go back over it again, but the Darrell Darcy Cup, nice win down in Mallow. That was took a late goal from his name is escaping me, man from Mungret. Is it can't think of his name now. That made the is it O'Hagan, I think is his name. He got the late goal there in that game to seal it. So that was a special night for Limerick football.
Absolutely, and then any time you picked up silverware, and it just leads me on, Tom, to another momentous occurrence in Limerick football during the year, and that was the performance of the Masters.
Yes,
like it was their first year grouping, you know, and fair credit to the lads, Joe Mulcahy and Damien Mullally and Timmy Stokes and the lads back there who started, Liam Mulcahy, who got this thing up and running in the first year, and to reach the the Spirit Cup semi-finals was a fantastic achievement in the first year. Like, it's a graded competition down along. There were 23 teams in it. 3 teams qualified. They didn't qualify. 3 counties didn't qualify for anything. Limerick had a good win in the first round away to Waterford, lost narrowly to Kerry in the second round, lost disappointingly to Laois in the third round. That was the real downer, as far as I'd be concerned, of the campaign. Went to Westmeath and won, and then lost to both Roscommon and Cork by a single point in each of them. So, but it was enough to qualify for the Spirit Cup semi-final, and you were into the big time then, and you were taking on some of the bastions of Gaelic football, because Limerick took on Kildare in the semi-final and had a good win, and then beat Armagh in the final. It was a fantastic achievement to the lads. Anthony McCarthy was the manager, did a fantastic job. They prepared diligently for the competition. They prepared like any county team, Tom. And they certainly deserved what they got. And my understanding is that a competition which we found rich pickings in the past in winning a couple of All-Irelands. We're going to be returning to the Masters hurling in 2024, so we'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, that should be great to see, and a chance to see past stars and the hurling code now, and maybe some stars we didn't know we had might emerge from the pack. Certainly at intercounty level.
I was at the celebration night in the Woodlands Hotel, and you really have to pinch yourself when Kieran Carey was coming up to receive an All-Ireland football medal.
Yeah, never got his hands on an hurling one of any description. He obviously
got a couple of monsters, but
so many close shaves in the hurling code, and then he gets the football one.
Such a wonderful player, like in hurling. There's people like him that missed out on All-Irelands, and like 4 of the 5 players that I mentioned that were at the launch the other night, they missed out on All-Ireland finals as well, and All-Ireland titles. We say you had Andrew O'Shaughnessy, Mossy Dowling got an All-Ireland medal. TJ Ryan missed out. Paddy Kelly missed out. Mike Houlihan missed out. I was talking about it, you'll recall, last week when we were talking about the Davy Byrne launch. And, it's sad to see these great players that never made, never got a Celtic cross, which they so richly deserved. But that's for another day, Tom. It's water under the bridge now, unfortunately. We're reflecting on 2023.
Yeah, staying on the football trail, the club football, Matt, 3 in a row in the senior championship done by Newcastle West. Now, this was a bizarre final in how it played out. I think Adair, I don't have the statistics, but had the lion's share possession, they probably territory as well. Yet they conceded 3 goals that I'd say they're still pulling their hair out over how they conceded them. They gave away possession, I think, in their own half for all 3 of them, which is obviously in this day and age a cardinal sin in club football and beyond. They somehow lost it by a point. I mean, Newcastle West, congratulations to them, the first team since the mid-70s to do 3 in a row, which will tell you how competitive the senior football championship in Limerick has been in the last 50 years. We didn't have any club getting a full firm grip on the Father Casey Cup until now. The championship overall, Matt, we probably touched on in a previous podcast. A little bit
bit disappointing. Congratulations to Newcastle West. Congratulations to Jimmy Lee, and wishing Jimmy the very, very best of luck on taking on the Limerick senior football team. Disappointing competition overall. I think what disappointed me most was we had the same 4 teams coming through to the semi-finals as we had last year, and the only threat to that quartet of dominance was provided by Kildimo Palace Kenry. And in fairness to them, they had a very, very good campaign. They went out, won their first 3 games, bang, 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 and had qualified actually for the knockout stages going into the final 2 rounds. So their games in the final 2 rounds against Father Casey's and Newcastle West were free shots, you know. But to me, they were certainly the team that lit up the championship. If for no other reason, was that they threatened to dominate, to gate crash the top 4. Yeah, which you know, for the competition going forward is badly needed, Tom. And we've said it already. And I'm certainly looking forward to Mungret coming up. And I think Mungret are going to provide a new type of challenge. And that notwithstanding the disappointing performance in the Munster final, which we spoke about last week, I think Mungret are going to add something very positive to the senior football championship. But overall, you would have to say a disappointing football championship. An interesting final. Newcastle West got over the line. They made a double the week after. They added the Premier Junior A Football Championship, which augurs well for Newcastle West going forward. With Mungret St. Paul's, then they beat Drumcolour Bradford in what was a disappointing final. You can call it what you like, but it was a disappointing final, Tom.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we were together at that final. And then you had the Junior A final, which was hugely disappointing. Mungret St. Paul's had a huge win over Camogie Rovers, who failed to score in the second half. And overall, I would say that it was a disappointing championship. I'm certainly hugely disappointed with the fact that for a second year in a row, and people will probably switch off at this stage when they hear me at this. They'll say they've heard it before, so often before. You had a team pulling out of the intermediate championship, and the same as last year. And you had walkovers given. A couple of walkovers. We had only one walkover in the intermediate championship last year. We had 2 this year. So the graph is going in the wrong direction. And you had a whole raft of walkovers then or a number of walkovers, let's say, in the junior championship. It raises huge questions about the integrity of these competitions. And I think it raises bigger questions still about the format of these competitions. And I would certainly hope, I'm hearing that there's going to be a get-together and a banging of heads and a bit of a brainstorming session in 2024 regarding the future format of the football championships going forward. It can't come soon enough, Tom.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not being parochial here. We congratulated Mona Leon on winning the Junior B hurling. Congratulations to Ballylanders on winning the Junior B football.
Yeah, definitely. And if I could throw my 2 cents in it on formats and all that, there's definitely players beyond the intermediate grade, as in below the intermediate grade, that are probably good enough to represent Limerick or maybe get into that conversation. But because their grades are sporadically dampened by walkovers, they're not getting the level of games needed, the volume of games. So maybe a divisional system, maybe akin to Cork, where, you know, a couple of divisional teams will, you know, maybe just need to aim at guys who are interested in football in the smaller clubs down the grades who may never get near senior. Maybe there's a case to be made for divisional teams, you know, or certainly pools of areas to bring guys into the senior ranks. Maybe what that looked like, I'm not sure, but I think there's probably merit in that going forward. Maybe even if they played at the intermediate grade, 2 or 3 clubs combined, that might help the intermediate grade. But maybe I'm creating more problems than I'm solving there. But anyway, that is definitely for another day. Matt, if we can flip to the ladies football, we were in Croke Park in, what month was it? Was it early August? I think it was, or early September. I'm trying to remember now my calendar. Heartbreak for the ladies in the All-Ireland Junior final against Down. A game that you've kind of felt they had, I wouldn't say within their grasp, but certainly it was there for the taking, and you felt whoever got the goal would win it. That was certainly the feeling, I think, in the press box that they Down got the goal. Their subs combined, their bench, you know, came in and had a strong impact. And Limerick just couldn't find that next gear needed to turn the game, and after a good year, it just ends in disappointment up in Croke Park.
It did. Disappointment in the league in the semi-final, and disappointment in the championship in the final. And some very, very good performances along the way. I think I saw the two games against Down. I saw the game against Sligo. Very, very good win against Sligo. Lo and behold, entering into the championship, one was wondering how Sligo and Down arrived in the junior championship, but they did, and then they arrived in the same group as Limerick, and but Limerick did very well to come out of the group. I think they played Kilkenny in the first round, which was a non-event, and then they beat Kilkenny in the second round and lost to Down, which was enough to get to the semi-final, which they won when they beat Fermanagh. Like, I thought the performance in Croke Park on the day was quite good, Tom. I think they were unlucky. I think your summation of it there, that whoever was going to get the first goal was going to be in the driving seat. And unfortunately for Down, fortunately from a Down point of view, it was they that got it and went on and won the game. Now, there's a slight change in the league, which will be starting early in the new year. Heretofore, the league was made up of 4 divisions. It's still going to be made up of 4 divisions, but up to 2023, Division 1, 2, and 3 comprised of 8 teams, which played a full round robin. For some inexplicable reason, Division 4 was divided into 2 groups.
A and B, yeah. 4A and 4B, yeah.
That has been rectified this coming year. So Limerick will be playing 7 games in the league. And believe it or not, Tom.
I believe it, man. Yeah. 6 at home.
6 of them are at home.
Yeah.
The only game away is against Leitrim. So, they have a real opportunity to make an imprint. Now, there's new management coming in. Graham Shine did a great job in his 2 years there, but just couldn't get over the line. And now we have Mike Quinlan and Sean Kiley, who are both part of Graham Shine's backroom team. They have stepped up into the management role, and Mike, of course, has been very successful as part of Graham Shine's backroom team, and also has been part of Martin O'Sullivan's backroom team with Monaghan completing 3 in a row as well this year. Yeah. So, look, there's a good bit to look forward to for the coming year, let's hope that they can keep the squad together, because there's certainly huge potential in that squad, I believe. A lot of young players have been blooded over the last 2 years, and I think if they get a prolonged or an extended run in the team, that they're capable of making it at inter-county level. But talking about the championship, with a decent championship, you'd have to say, we had a decent championship. Like Monaghan made it 3 in a row. It wasn't made easy for them. We had a lot of competitive games. And St. Ailbe's in the final for the second year in a row, and St. Ailbe's had, they lost in the first round. St. Ailbe's to Ula, who the new kids on the block, and but Ula's did very well. They won their 2 games in the group stage, but then lost to Monaghan in the semi-final. Ballylanders finished top of the group over Monaghan and went on to lose to St. Ailbe's in the semi-final. So that set up the final between Monaghan and St. Ailbe's, which St. Ailbe's won. But I think the performance of the year, Tom, when we're talking about ladies football, has to be the performance of Galtee Gales. From junior champions in 2022 to intermediate champions in 2023.
Yeah. And
this is a club that fielded an adult team for the first time in 2015. So it's some way to have come from 2015, from a junior B team in 2015 to a senior championship team in 2024. It's a phenomenal rise, a phenomenal achievement. Yeah, so that to me would be one of the highlights, my highlights for ladies football in 2024.
Yeah, no, that's one that maybe people wouldn't have had on their radars, but credit to them. And I know in their semi-final even they went to go to extra time, and they obviously showed good powers of recovery there over Munger to get to the final, and then had that success, which now puts them in senior. So heartiest congratulations to Galtee Gaels, and we'll see if they can do.
I saw him in the 2022 Junior A final, Tom, and the performance they put on that day, I said to myself, these are going to be no pushover at intermediate level. You know,
they'll be doing the pushing over.
Perry and his management team up there, they did a great job, and they steered them through choppy waters. They only drew in the first round against St. Bridget's, had a huge win over Father Casey's in the second round, and then we had that marathon with Mungret.
Yeah,
like it was level the first day. Weather wouldn't permit extra time, and then it went to extra time the second day, and they came out on top.
Yeah, and even in extra time, they were under serious pressure. I think Mungret went to goal ahead, and they dug it out. So there's obviously something in the water out in that part of Limerick. So congratulations to them. Matt, if we can flip now, last but not least, I suppose, on the general sport, it would be Camogie. Intercounty level Camogie. I wasn't at all the games this year. I won't say that, but the few I was at, I was a little bit disappointed. There seemed to be something amiss with the Limerick senior Camogie team this year, and I don't mean I'm not having a go at anyone with that, but there just seemed to be that exuberance maybe that's needed at the county level, and there was some good players on show and some good shining lights, but it just wasn't clicking as a team, and there was struggle for results. I think they needed that win over Offaly to stay in the league, stay in what is effectively the second tier, and then afterwards in the championship it didn't really go to plan either. So hopefully 2024 is a brighter one, but 2023 not a vintage year for Limerick Camogie on the intercounty front, I think it's fair to say.
Well, yeah, I saw a number of the games, including the championship game against Waterford, and I saw the make-or-break league game against Offaly. There are two make-or-break league games with Offaly, or make-or-break games with Offaly, one in the league and one in the championship. They won both of them. They had a huge win in the one that preserved their championship status. Massive win. I put down that erratic form, like, you know, the injury to Rebecca DeLee and the loss of Rebecca DeLee was absolutely huge. And we got a clear taste of why it was huge, was with her performance in the county final, which was absolutely fantastic. Now, there are three others who opted for football. You had Roisin Ambrose, who was the captain of the football team, has opted for football for the last 2 years. And you had Debbie Murphy and Cameron O'Leary. And you're talking about players that, in my view, in the county final, absolutely superb. Absolutely superb now. Roisin Ambrose got 6 points in the county final, all from play. You know, and I just wonder, and I don't know what the girls are going to do for the coming year. Are they going to try and marry the two of them, or are they going to opt one way or the other? But you know, if you could get a full complement of players on board, you know, I think Limerick would have a really, really good chance. Really good chance of making it to 1A in the league anyway, you know.
That has to be the first day, Matt, doesn't it? Get back to the top table in the league, I think.
That has to be the first. That has to be the first objective, you know, if you're to move up along the ladder. And now it's a complete change behind the scenes. John Lillis has 2 years. He's gone, and certainly he steered them through a difficult period in 2023. Full credit for it. Like they were staring relegation from the league when they came up against Offaly. in McNeville Park. They were staring against relegation in the championship when they came up against Offaly and Burr.
Yeah.
And they got over both days, and the championship far more convincing. Sure, they actually ran away with the game again in the championship. Now it was a tight game in the league in Newcastle or in McNeville Park, but look, Joe Quaid is back. I saw it firsthand how Joe Quaid works. It wasn't by accident that he was involved in 2014. And 2014 is the year that we won the All-Ireland Intermediate Championship, the All-Ireland Minor A Championship, which is the main one in minor, and the Premier Junior Championship. Like 3 All-Irelands in 1 year. And mind you, it was something at the time, Tom, that slipped under the radar. To a certain degree. I wasn't prepared to let it slip under the radar for my little bit, but and it's something I keep bringing up. But Joe Quaid oversaw structures in those days, and I would be very, very hopeful that he can replicate it, because it will need all the everybody will have to be on the one hymn sheet. If we are to climb up the Camogie ladder. Now, David Deedy has been in charge of the junior team, and they again needed that win over Offaly in the league, and they got to the semi-final. They beat Offaly in the championship, they beat Mayo in the championship, and they were beaten in the All-Ireland semi-final with Roscommon. So there is a prospect there of he certainly introduced a lot of players into county, and they will benefit from it coming up now for a second year, and David is on board again for the coming year. But I think the highlight for me for Camogie in 2024 had to be our minor team, who reached the All-Ireland Shield final. Now, what is the All-Ireland Shield final, you might say? The All-Ireland Shield, it was the A final. The A Camogie is divided into the Cup and the Shield, with the 6 strongest teams in the Cup and the next 6 strongest teams in the Shield. Had we won it, we would be deemed to be the 7th best team in the country. And we reached to the final after a marathon campaign, and an absolutely tremendous semi-final victory over Clare and Clonmel of all places. Now, we had played Clare twice. I saw both games. Were involved in a great game in Kilmallock, and reached the final only to be beaten by Antrim, which was a disappointment. And anytime you're beaten in a final, is particularly, I suppose, it goes without saying it's a disappointment. But the fact that they got there, and I saw it firsthand, the work that Paul Neenan and Tony Dunn and the management team were putting into it was hugely, hugely encouraging. And to get to the final, Tom, they were only getting what they deserved for the amount of work that they put into it. So that to me was the highlight of the year, getting to the All-Ireland final. I suppose another highlight, and it went a bit under the radar, was Limerick, for the first time ever, won the Munster Under-16 Camogie Championship. A historic first. So, all the metrics at Underage, are pointing in a very positive direction. So we would be hoping to see the players from those 2 teams, that Under-16 team of this year and the minor team of this year and the minor team of 2024. We would be hoping to see some of those feeding into the senior championship before too long. Now, looking at the club championship, Newcastle West, you would have to say, were convincing winners, very, very convincing winners in the final. Now, Killeedy had a very good win over a Han in the semi-final and knocked out the champions. And heading to Ballygrand for the final, they were entitled to have high hopes. But Newcastle West, who missed out last year, really, really came with a mission. They ticked all the boxes on the day, and were worthy winners of the championship. And where it was so disappointing that the way that they lost out to Sarsfields in the Munster Championship, Munster semi-final. And then at intermediate level, you had Mona Leon. And they after missing out in the semi, they were beaten in the semi-final by Adair last year. They had been beaten in the county final in 2021 by Cappamore. And they were back in the final this year. And really the only club that laid a glove on them during the year in the Limerick Championship was Galway, who beat them in the second round. And of course, Galway, they were junior champions last year and junior A champions. So it was a good year for Monaghan. They're up senior. There will be an addition to senior. There's a restructured senior championship next year where there's going to be 8 teams, 4 and a 4. It will be very, very interesting. As you know, 2 clubs were relegated this year, Cappamore, and very surprisingly, the Queens of Limerick, Camogie, Granabellangary, and it's a case of how the mighty have fallen. The fact that Granabellangary will be playing in intermediate Camogie next year, but it has happened. It's not too long ago, about 10 years ago. Ballygran won the county senior final, and they're now competing at junior level. And so, look, overall it was a good year, I'd say, for Club Camogie in Limerick. You had Monaghan narrowly beaten by, Monaghan narrowly beaten by Glanmire, Newcastle West, desperate, heartbreakingly beaten by Sarsfields. So it augurs well on that front as well. So look, it overall, I would say that it was a very, very satisfactory year for Camogie in Limerick.
Yeah, and as you said at the outset there, hopefully Joe Quaid now can, I guess, knit it all together for the senior team, and we'll have a step or two forward in 2024 with that team.
I should have said that. I omitted to say it. Like, we had the emergence of Patrick Swell. They won the Junior A Camogie Championship. They beat Blackrock Effin, who were appearing in the final for a second year in a row and have lost sport now. About Patrick Swell is that the team contained one of the best Camogie players that we produced in this county over the last 10 or 15 years, in Sarah Carey, who gave tremendous service to Granabellangary for many years, the daughter of Kieran, and she went back to her native Patrick Swell this year and helped them to make a breakthrough, and they will be seeing at intermediate championship level next year. Yeah,
alongside Granabellangary. So you know who's going to be drawn together for the first round. Granabellangary versus Patrick Swell. There's a fair possibility of it. So
it's written in the stars, Tom.
Written in the stars, as they say. Yeah, Matt, I think that's about it for what we've covered in Limerick GAA this year.
Last week, Tom, we had the announcement of an extraordinary piece of generosity on the part of JP McManus.
Yes.
32
million.
Has donated €1 million to all 32 counties in Ireland. It's a phenomenal act of generosity, and it's typical of the man and the love he has of the game, and the conditions attached to it make it all the more attractive and all the more honourable, in that it's to be distributed evenly between the clubs covering hurling, football, ladies football, and camogie at grassroots level. And it is the doing of somebody that knows exactly how the system works, how the GAA can prosper, because it's pitched directly at the grassroots.
Yeah,
And,
where he's come from himself, of course. You know, South Liberties man. You know, was he chairman of South Liberties going back many moons ago?
Certainly an officer of South Liberties. You know,
Yeah.
I remember back in the day representing South Liberties at the county board.
Yeah, so he's not, you know, he's obviously a multi-millionaire, but he's not someone like, you know, we'd see in the sport we also follow, the two of us in soccer. He's not just coming in and splashing money about. He's decided, I'm sending this to the grassroots for every club, the length and breadth of Ireland, to grow the game in their little community, their big community, their parish, their village, their town, their whatever it is. And I think every club in Ireland should be thankful of that. I mean, it'll probably break down. I don't know the exact figure in Limerick, but it should probably break down around 10,000 for each club thereabouts. And tell you,
it's just a phenomenal act of generosity, and you know, absolutely phenomenal, and certainly, you know, the way it is structured, you know, it is coming from somebody, coming from a man that knows exactly what the GAA is all about.
Yeah, and who knows, JP might get the 5 in a row, which I'm sure is something that it will really, really motivate him this year, or really not motivate him, but really excite him this year, as it will all Limerick GAA supporters. Matt, I think we've covered it there now. I'd forgotten about JP's generosity, but we'll definitely not forget about it going forward. But I think that covers it. I know I've only been in temporary situ, I suppose, since Jack vacated the position for Pastures New earlier in the year. But I suppose on behalf of everyone at Sporting Limerick and our contributors and Raf in the background, and obviously yourself, we should wish everyone a very happy Christmas. If we don't see you at a match in the near future, we shall see you early in 2024, and I hope everyone has a very enjoyable Christmas and indeed a prosperous New Year. I'm sure you're going to echo that for me, Matt.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to echo it, and I echo it down under to Jack when he's wherever he is. But I'm sure he tunes into us. I know he tunes into us every week, and mind you, tunes in critically of us, you know, which I would expect. So, Jack, wherever you are in the world, I know you're down in Australia somewhere, and you're a good partner. Have an absolutely wonderful Christmas. We miss you here in Ireland. But look, to everybody, and like it's so heartening, just going around the county, the number of people that interact with me anyway, probably the same with you, Tom, and it used to be the same with Jack, about Treaty Talk. And it's wonderful that people are tuning in, and some people tuning in every week. And I had somebody in earlier this evening here that could give me chapter and verse just before I came on here about what we had about 2 weeks ago. So it's great. Keep on listening. We'll keep coming out, and you know, a lot of you is probably saying he's talking trash most of the time, but sure, look, trash isn't the worst either. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm sure we'll have some good special guests early in the new year as we gear up for 2024 across the different codes. I must say as well, we're also here in association with Noel's Menswear. Do check them out before or indeed after Christmas for the very best of offer in menswear across the city and county. So that's it. Thank you very much. Slán go fóill.
The impression the game you get out with what you put into, it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
If your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence, you can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We've had a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it home. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.